All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here, Summer League edition. Knicks lose their first Summer League game to the Charlotte Hornets, 94-90. Before we get into all of this, though, BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to the top fights in the UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. Game starts here. I'm Sam. I'm joined by Schwinn. And yeah, the Knicks just finished their first Summer League game. We just got a nice little debut from Tyler Kolek, Pacome Dadier, and Ariel Hukporti, alongside the likes of Jacob Toppin and Dwayne Washington, who we're familiar with from last year. Schwinn, your initial thoughts on, I guess, those debuts of those players, and yeah.
Well, I thought Kolek was obviously really good. He looked like he was in control. I didn't think he forced anything. Did he even have a turnover? I don't think he had a turnover. Yeah, I just liked how he played. He looked exactly like kind of what was advertised. The defense probably a little rough. Not probably, it was a little rough, but whatever, we kind of knew that was the deal coming in. But the passing was good. I just thought his kind of ability to get the team organized, especially the fact that these guys, I mean, they've played together since they got together in Vegas, but they haven't actually, any of them, played together. So just to see how much more effective and just organized the offense was when he was on the floor versus anybody else was pretty significant. So I was very impressed with him. I thought Dadier it was obviously a rough game for him. It's a tough matchup. He's playing Brandon Miller, who had a really good rookie year. And I don't actually know why he's here right now, but cool.
I think he's here because he was in Vegas already for the select team, so he was just like, might as well keep playing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, look, he obviously struggled. Dadier, that is, not Miller. The shot, I don't know, he seemed a little spooked in the beginning. He airballed the first one, airballed another one. Then he had one rim out, or one that looked good in the second half, but I think it was short, but like better. He was a little bit, or not really forcing it, but unsure of himself, I think, is probably the best way to put it offensively. I thought his passing was actually really impressive. I was surprised by some of it. He didn't dawdle on the ball, didn't take a lot of time to make decisions. I thought for the most part his decision making was clean up some of the stuff in the corners where obviously he's taking a step back and he gets caught with his foot on the line. But overall, I actually was kind of impressed with him, just in the sense of, like, again, Miller's probably the toughest cover out there in Summer League, and thought he did a pretty solid job on him. He's gonna have to work on his screen navigation. That was not great. And he's gonna have to just generally kind of get more, I would say, aware defensively. But you can see the vision with him. I think it's very obvious what they were looking at, why they gambled on him. He's not going to be playing minutes with the Knicks this year. Nobody they drafted in that position really probably was going to be. I mean, Kolek is more experienced, but I doubt he gets a shit ton of minutes with the Knicks. And unless there's a trade, obviously. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Dadier, I mean, you can see the vision. He's going to spend a lot of time in Westchester, and you kind of throw that in the crock pot and see what comes out a year or two from now. I mean, he's fucking huge, though. Like, he was bigger than Brandon Miller. He literally was bigger than Brandon Miller. I thought.
Yeah, that kind of shocked me, seeing how big he was out there.
There were a couple times Miller tried to, like, overpower him and did not. One of them, he ended up falling on his ass and he traveled. The other one, he was able to kind of pivot around and eventually get a shot up. But he definitely thought he could muscle Dadier, and that was not the case. And again, he's 18. Like, he's not even fucking close to having filled out or have an NBA body and all that type of stuff. So you can clearly see the vision. Whether that comes to fruition or not, I don't know. But I think in this draft, given what we're told about it, it makes sense that they took a shot on this kid because he's a big fucking guy for an 18-year-old wing. So, and he moved well. I thought he moved fluidly, not the most explosive athlete, but he moves well, smooth. So yeah, pretty encouraged by him. Huck Porty, I thought he had a rough start, was a lot better after that when he came back in the game during the second quarter. Offensively, I think he has some nice feel. He had a really good pass, was it to Dadier on one for a cut that was for a layup. That was really nice. He finished a couple of shots on the short roll. Not the most, definitely not explosive at all. He is coming a year removed from an Achilles tear, so I wonder if the Knicks are banking on him kind of getting more explosive down the line. Not that he's ever going to be a super athlete or anything, but I wonder if that's part of their thinking. Defensively, he's a little bit lumbering in space, so I'm not sure about how much range he has in terms of space he can cover. It's also just hard to judge defense because these guys are so not on the same page a lot of times. So it puts the bigs in a tough spot, but like I'll be keeping an eye on him. I'm not discouraged, but I'm not going to be like, oh my God, amazing performance by Huck Porty or something. But I thought he was okay. I thought he was solid. And then why am I forgetting the fourth guy? What the hell is wrong with me? Who's the fourth guy
that we drafted? He's not here with the team.
Oh, that's right. He's not here.
He's recovering from the knee and ankle injuries that he suffered over the past year or so.
But yeah, like fucking Dwayne Washington Jr., he needs to get the hell out of here. All right, we can get back to Summer League. Can we talk about Brunson? We allowed to do that?
Yes, we are. So Jalen Brunson, of course, signed his big 4-year max $156 extension, $156 million extension. That was the max that he was allowed to take in this time period. I want to emphasize that was the maximum amount of dollars that he could have earned this offseason taking this extension. There's a lot of discussion and, of course, a lot of pro-labor, anti-union talks over the past, I want to say, 24 hours at this point regarding Jalen Brunson's extension. I mean, obviously, this is a great move for the Knicks. It allows them flexibility under that second apron, allowing them to basically keep this team together, keep this core together, and give them a real shot at contending. I mean, this is like the first time in a long time that you're able to say for consecutive years that the Knicks are able to put out a contender in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA as a general whole. And Jalen Brunson, under this like new restrictive CBA, is allowing the Knicks to have some flexibility to keep this team together and still make some moves along the margins and stuff like that. So, I mean, great for Jalen Brunson. I mean, he's obviously earned every single dollar of this and apparently more, according to Twitter, who finally wants to admit that he's worth the amount of money that he's being paid. But yeah, I mean, just overall great move for Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. And, you know, he puts himself in a position to be eligible for that that 4-year, what is it, $320+ million extension in like 3 years or so. So it's like, you know, he's not totally missing out on so much money. And I think Jalen Brunson, he's doing pretty good for himself. I think he's good. He's not a bad day away from being homeless, as most people on Twitter would let you believe. So, yeah, Schwinn, your thoughts on Jalen Brunson's extension and, of course, what it means for the grander scale of the Knicks as a contender for the next couple of years or so.
I mean, obviously, it's great for the Knicks. He took, you know, a number that is big, but not really. I mean, he's outperforming that contract almost definitely. He goes from being on one of the biggest non-rookie contract bargains in the league to being one of the biggest non-rookie contract bargains in the league, if not the biggest. So pretty awesome. I don't really understand what people. I genuinely don't understand the discourse. People are like I've seen people are mad. One, they're like, this is anti-labor. Like, I'm sorry, he took the most amount of money he's allowed to take right now. That's what he did. He took the most amount of money that the Knicks could offer him right now. He got a player option put into it so that he can hit the open market after his 10th year of service, which means that he will then qualify for the biggest possible max, which is a 35% max. So that's what he did. You can say that he left money on the table, but you're assuming that there's no risk involved, and that's bullshit. If Jalen Brunson ruptures his Achilles tomorrow, that's like there's a lot of risk. He probably will have foregone money at that point that he's not going to get back. And we saw this with Isaiah Thomas, right? He was a fucking MVP candidate. And a year later, he had to sign for a minimum because he got hurt, and then he just struggled for an entire year, so he signed for a minimum. And obviously, Brunson's bigger than Isaiah Thomas, and those two situations are the same. But that's illustrative of the point of like this idea that there's no risk and that he's always he's always going to get that money next year. That's bullshit. That's not true. It wasn't $113 million that he gave up. It's really $37 million, which is still a lot of money, but it's not the same thing the way that it was portrayed by a lot of people.
Including Woj, who definitely worded it a certain way.
Yeah. And then the other piece is like people are like, well, he's just doing he's sacrificing money and that is only benefiting James Dolan. And one, that's like, it's ironic to me to be extremely upset about billionaires, but then want Jalen Brunson to act like a billionaire and only care about maximizing his individual earning potential. Which is, look, I mean, he still has that opportunity to do it, but he did it in a way where he now has helped the organization financially to the point that, hey, all these awesome players that they've acquired, they can keep them pretty easily. All of his best buddies that are here, now they're still here. They're going to be here for the foreseeable future, and it makes it easier to extend one of them, like Mikal Bridges. So he's given them this financial flexibility. They are a competitive team. They now don't have to make hard choices necessarily with guys in their roster, and can keep their talent level as is. That's pretty significant. That means that they're a contender for the foreseeable future, and that isn't that like there's players have two things they want in a career, right? Presumably, you want to make as much money as you can to some extent, and you want to compete, be on a competitive team, win titles. Those things might not always be aligned, and you might have to kind of thread the needle and balance out those things. This seems pretty okay. He took all the money he can get right now. He gave himself the opportunity to potentially make up the difference down the line. And he gets to play on a contending team with all his best buddies in an organization that's ran by his godfather, being coached by his dad, in the number one media market in North American sports, and arguably the number one athlete in that. I mean, it's him or Aaron Judge, and personally, I don't think baseball captures the imagination like that anymore. And certainly not the fucking Yankees. So recently. So I think people are just dismissing that stuff and acting like all that should matter to him is, well, you could have made more money doing this. It's like, why does that's you. It's like the Jordan thing, right? And they're like, that's you. It's not me. Like he can value things differently. Like the value of things is not the same to every single person. Like $1 to you might be different. $1 to us is a lot different than $1 to Jalen Brunson. I'll tell you that much. So he can forego stuff that to us might seem insane. I'm not us necessarily, but to the average person might seem insane. But he has that ability because he is wealthy, because he's already made a lot of money, and now he's going to make even more money. He's guaranteed himself at least something like over north of $200 million now in his NBA playing career by the time this contract is over. And he'll have the opportunity to make more millions. And he's going to be, again, if he's on a contending Knicks team, a competitive Knicks team, think about all the money that opens up, all the possibilities that opens up for him off the court. That stuff matters too. That should be counted in all of this. So I thought the conversation around it was stupid. And I think people that think it's anti-labor have no fucking idea what they're talking about. If you're labor, like there are plenty of people who don't work, high-end paying jobs like this, who take less money to stay in situations they feel are better for them for reasons that that aren't about money. Obviously, it could be quality of life. It could be the environment and your job, your work environment, the atmosphere there. How collegial are you with your colleagues? And obviously in his case, he's very collegial with his colleagues. So all that stuff plays into it. It's not just about money. That's not the only thing you're deciding. Money can often be the biggest factor, but we know it's not the only factor. And I just think it's ridiculous that people have boiled it down to like he's doing this and he's saving Dolan money and this is horrible for labor, a sad day for the players union. Bro, BRI is collectively bargained. The players are either they're gonna get it's guaranteed. They get something between 49 to 51% of all basketball related income. That is collectively bargained. That is guaranteed. So it does not matter how much money Jalen Brunson takes.
The players are getting it regardless.
The players are going to get that split regardless. If anything, you could say that him sacrificing money allows lesser players that don't have the access to the type of contracts that Jalen Brunson gets. It allows role players and depth guys to get paid more than they would in other scenarios. So people just don't fundamentally understand what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I'm sorry that you took like an Econ 101 course, but like that doesn't make you well versed in this shit. So shut the fuck up. Let people do what they want in their lives as long as it doesn't hurt you, and understand like, hey man, would you like to work this is literally his dream job, and he has the opportunity to do that with his best friends from college, all of them, and like I'm supposed to be mad that he chose that instead of waiting a year to sign a contract and maybe guarantee himself 30. Like he's going to be able to do whatever he wants financially. Like he can do whatever the fuck he wants now. It didn't change anything about the quality of his life to take the money now. It just gives him security and clarity, and it helps out. It helps him out obviously on an individual level because he just guaranteed himself $156 million or whatever it was, $156 million, 113.2 in the first 3 years. And it also allows him to play for a Knicks team that is comfortable in this more stringent cap era, keep their best players, retain their talent, and be a competitive, contending team in the Eastern Conference. And again, if you're an NBA player, pretty sure those things are good for your career and exactly what you want. So the people that are upset about it are just fucking losers to me.
The thing that's interesting to me the most is, and there's a couple things actually. The things that are interesting to me out of all this is that a lot of people are criticizing CJ McCollum and Grant Williams for this CBA that made it so hard to keep good teams together because it's so hard to pay every single person on all these really good teams. And it's like Jalen Brunson just found a way to wiggle around it and keep a really good Knicks team together. And people are shitting on him for it when like this is what the new CBA was kind of meant to do. It was meant to break up these teams that are really good with all these really big contracts, and Jalen Brunson was like, nah, I'm just gonna take this money now and keep my team together. Also, the discourse around Jalen Brunson wanting to play with his college friends as if like they're all some scrubs or something. We just saw last year with two of his best friends on a Knicks team that was heavily depleted make it one game within the Eastern Conference Finals, where they probably would have had a better chance if they were healthy in making the finals. And they just added another one of his friends that's actually really good. So I don't understand this notion of like, oh, he's only doing this to play with his friends as if they're like some bums. And yeah, I mean, like it's the discourse is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, he's fine. The Knicks are fine. And like the idea of like, oh, that Jalen Brunson's like bending the knee to a billionaire, that James Dolan is gonna like pocket this money and like no one else is ever gonna see this money is like ridiculous. Like as you said, the players all get a split of the money. I mean, Jalen Brunson takes less. That means someone else is getting that money, and the Knicks are probably. The Knicks have already shown that they've been willing to improve the team around him no matter what. So they're going to use this money in the best ways possible. That's going to help this team contend. So.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's awesome for the Knicks, obviously, but it's awesome for Jalen Brunson too, because of that decision he made, it makes it easier for the Knicks. You know, like we'll see what happens with Randall, but now you extend, even if Randall takes the max extension this summer, they're not really in danger of exceeding the second apron or anything like that next year. And if Mikal Bridges decides to take his max extension next summer, they're not going to be in danger of exceeding into this or going into the second apron for 2025-26. Like, you know, these are significant there's significant value to that. And I think the people that want to put this, if you want to tell me that Jalen Brunson shouldn't care about that stuff, okay, fine. But the fact that he does, that's on Grant Williams, it's on CJ McCollum, that's on the NBPA leadership, that is on who the fuck was their counsel? She's not there anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Tamika Tremeglio. And then, this is on the owners, obviously, who push for this stuff. Like, you want to blame people, blame them. Don't blame Jalen Brunson for being like, well, this is the system within which I work. Like, I have to operate within this kind of setup. That's not my choice. This is the NBA. Like, so if he wants to play in the NBA, he has to play within the rules that exist in that system. Like, hey, you know what? I would love to go not get a job and just rob banks. And that would be great. If I could do that and just that would be how I made my money, that'd be cool. Guess what? If I do that, I'll probably go to prison. And I might die because I'll probably get shot at. Like, so there are ramifications when you live in a place and you exist in a place that has a set of rules. So Jalen Brunson could prioritize, hey, I'm going to wait. Then I'm going to sign this. I'm going to get this 5-year, $269.4 million contract, or whatever the fuck it is. And that's what I want. And that's cool. He's allowed to do that. If he had chose to do that, what am I going to say? He's earned that. And he's obviously worth that type of money in the NBA. But there's ramifications to that too. And like happiness for me or you or somebody else doesn't need to be the same thing. For a lot of these people, apparently they're like as bad as these vulture capitalists they profess to hate, because all they care about is, oh my God, Jalen Brunson did not get every single fucking penny he could out of this system. So therefore he has failed. And maybe that's what happiness is to those people. But happiness doesn't need to be the same thing for everybody. Professional ambition doesn't need to be the same for everybody. There are players who play in the NBA and getting every dollar they can out of it is what matters to them. That's their prerogative. They've earned that prerogative by being talented enough to play in the NBA. But that doesn't mean everybody operates that way. There are players, they can make a shit ton of money, but they're not going to be happy or satisfied in their careers unless they're doing it in a competitive atmosphere. Not everybody's Kyle Kuzma, who doesn't give a fuck about that shit and just wants to get his money, get his 20 points per game, and hang out. Like, not everybody is like that. Different players are motivated in different ways. And those motivations can change over time, right? For the longest time, Bradley Beal did not give a fuck about competing for anything and just got the bag every time. And he's allowed to do that. That's cool. I can't blame him for that. But then at some point in his life, he was like, man, this sucks. Can you guys trade me? By the way, I have a no trade clause. But yeah, like, it's just stupid to me. And it's also dumb to me because it's like, dude, there were so many people that were ready to just get real nasty and start going overboard praising LeBron for taking a pay cut so that the Lakers could have the mid-level exception. And yet these same people are acting like Jalen Brunson is like some kind of
war criminal.
Yeah, just a fucking fascist who apparently just is sucking the lifeblood out of the NBA union. And also, can we just be real and stop pretending like NBA players and their union is the same thing as like fucking teachers
and their union?
Workers. Thank you. Auto workers, or like, it's not the same fucking thing. I'm sorry. You can pretend it is, but it's just not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah, anyone who has an actual issue with people getting exploited for their pay, go talk to a teacher or some other person in another field that's obviously getting massively underpaid for their services. Shout out to me working a summer job because teaching is not that. You know what? Fuck Eric Adams. But yeah. What else is there to talk about this? I mean, obviously the news came out that right after that Mikal was most likely going to take his extension. When is he eligible for that? And when can they offer him that?
I believe he's eligible. I think he's eligible for an extension maybe as soon as this offseason, but definitely next offseason. So
okay. So yeah, I mean, it kind of like what Jalen Brunson does also is like that kind of move right there kind of sets the tone for like the rest of the team. Like your leader just left that money on the table to keep this group together. So like, what are the other guys willing to do to make shit happen on this team. But yeah, I mean, it's great they get to keep this core together. Eight strong it goes, right? Or nine deep this team goes at the very
Eight,
least.
8 deep right now because we don't know who the hell
The
is our
backup big is.
center. And so right now, as things stand, we're 8 deep.
But I mean, hey, most teams they're not going to be able to keep their teams as deep as this. I mean, a lot of these teams are going to have to rely on minimums. Like, look at Phoenix; they're relying on minimum guys to kind of shore up these roles that we have. Prominent players that are actually getting paid what they're worth doing. So, I mean, this new CBA is tricky, but the Knicks and Jalen Brunson have found a way to sort of maneuver their way around it. And yeah, I mean, to me, it makes no sense because like everyone as a collective, all NBA fans were literally just criticizing what the CBA has done, how it's ruined so many things, like the fun of free agency and stuff like that. So to see someone try to maneuver their way around it, try to make things work for their team and get clowned for it, just shows that NBA fans really don't know what they truly want. They just want to complain about something.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just there are a lot of Celtics fans and Sixers fans and Nets fans complaining about this, and it's just if we can be real about this for a second. The reason they're upset is that their star player probably wouldn't do this, and they don't have a franchise where their star player feels so empowered and appreciated and comfortable and safe that they're willing to do that. So that's what they're mad about, and they're mad that it's the Knicks. That's it. If this was
the Celtics,
this is Celtics. That all we hear about is how it's a testament to their culture and how
Celtics culture.
Yeah, and winning is so key. And
or if someone on Miami did this, you would hear so much about my Heat culture.
Yeah, and so that's all this is about. It has nothing to do with anything else because I can't imagine if I'll guarantee this. I guarantee you, if SGA does the same exact thing, let's say he extends off of a lower number than whatever, blah, blah, blah. And if that happened, there would be no conversation about how terrible this is for labor and, how SGA is, it wouldn't be any of this stuff. It would be like, wow, look at that small market team. It would be this fucking lovey-dovey story about how the small market team built a culture, and that's a reason why this guy valued that over getting every fucking cent he could and going into free agency and explore. That's what the narrative would be. But it's not that narrative because it's New York and it's the Knicks, and everybody hates the Knicks no matter what. And they have successfully moved the goalposts constantly. So whatever, I'm not that worried about it. I mean, why the hell would I be worried about it? He signed for the Knicks, and it's great. So happy for that.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the Knicks have truly made it as a team that's to be feared. When fans of other teams are just hating, just for the simple fact of that. I mean, before, I feel like before fans probably would have felt a little bit more sorry for us in the past a little bit, but like now that we're actually a good team and they actually have to like worry about us like doing stuff now, it's a problem. And to what you were saying about if other players on other teams wouldn't do this, I mean, weren't there like rumblings about like Jaylen Brown, like when he was up for his extension, like there was like some rumblings about like, oh, what if they didn't give it to him or something like that, or if they didn't give him the full amount or something like that. I feel like there were some sort of rumblings about around when Jaylen Brown was up for his extension, just because there was that uncertainty about the Celtics at that time, if they should keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together. They hadn't won the championship yet, so like there was all these rumblings about that type of stuff. So, but yeah, I feel like other stars, it has been shown already. Like, and you're seeing it now with like the Brandon Ingram stuff. It's like no team wants to pay Brandon Ingram over $200 million. So it's like, what's he gonna do? Because like the Pelicans don't want to give it to him, but they don't want to lose the asset for nothing in free agency. So it's like, yeah.
Well, it's also funny to me that people were like, well, this is going to be so bad because owners are going to point to this Brunson thing and they're going to use that as leverage. And it's like, okay, why the fuck is that Jalen Brunson's problem?
Yeah, like,
And it's like, again,
so what? He causes league-wide strife.
And people keep saying that he took a discount. He took the literal most amount of money he could take right now. If you want to get upset about what the number is, get mad at the CBA, get mad at that, and figure out and maybe write down your ideas on how to change those things, because it has nothing to do with Jalen Brunson. If Jalen Brunson could have signed a max 4 years, if he could sign the same extension Randall would have done, 4 years, $181 million this summer, the Knicks would have signed him to that, and he still would have been doing them a solid. And people still would have been bitching. So it's not about any of that shit. And like the fact that people are so upset about this kind of just proves to you that all that 1A conversation, it's been dead, but now we know it's dead, because there's no way in hell they'd be upset about this much if the perception of him as a player and how good he is hadn't drastically changed over the last year and a half. So, hey man, if you think it's if you think, again, if the Knicks sucked, he wouldn't do this. This is like part of the reason he's willing to do this, because the Knicks are fucking good, and he, again, all of the stuff that is there with the organization, where he knows, Leon Rose is his godfather, and Tom Thibodeau he's known since he was growing up, and obviously his dad is on the coaching staff, and there's Dante, there's Mikal, there's Josh Hart, all his best friends are on the team. Like, you're not. That's the reason why he's probably willing to do this. So if you want to go and try and recreate that scenario, and if owners want to try to use that as like, hey man, we're going to get all of your best friends, and hopefully they're good at basketball the way Jalen's are. If you want to try and do that, and we're going to hire your godfather to be our president of basketball operations, and if you think that's a replicable model for other teams to pursue, go for it. I have a feeling, though, that plenty of actual I'm sorry, the best players in the league are going to continue to take the most money possible when they're offered it. And I don't think the decision he made is really that crazy from a financial perspective at all. It's just people want to present it in the dumbest fucking way possible.
People are just mad because players like Karl-Anthony Towns and Tobias Harris are getting paid the money that they're getting, and it kind of hinders what certain teams are able to do for periods of time. Look at Ben Simmons' contract and what he's doing on the basketball court, and tell me like he's worth every single dollar that he's getting paid right now. Like, a lot of teams are paying a lot of players that are just not simply worth the money, and they're upset. Fans of those teams are upset because they don't have the flexibility they need to really get over the top. Certain teams are just going to be hindered because they can't move around contracts of the players that are at the top that are not good enough to get over that hump. Like the Timberwolves, what are they going to do if another year goes by and they're still paying Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert to be their front court, and they simply just can't get it done because Karl-Anthony Towns keeps shitting himself when he gets into the playoffs? Like, I just don't know. This is why fans are upset, because they're paying these guys that just can't do it for them. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson took a discount, and he can get things done for you.
Yep. Back to Summer League
stuff. Yeah, we got some comments here.
Yeah.
Chris Bernhard, he kind of agrees with your sentiment he says, I've been watching for 5 minutes, and I'd be very happy if I never saw Dwayne Washington Jr. or Jacob Toppin ever again. Shout out to Jacob Toppin, by the way, missing the potential game-tying shot on a lob.
What did you have, Knicks money line, pal?
No, I didn't. I was hoping they went to overtime because I did have Kolek 15 points and 10 assists.
He wasn't getting that.
Maybe in overtime.
No, but they do the Elam ending in overtime, right?
Yeah, they do. They had 6 points or whatever to the target score.
He wasn't getting you 8 points and 33 assists.
Yeah. It was fun to hope for a minute, though.
I thought, look, I get that you just need to have some guy that's out there to take some shots and handle the ball other than Kolek, but I just
in Selden role.
I'm good. I'm so good on watching him. He's so annoying. I thought, and it was honestly just more annoying because I'm like, can we just every time he would run a pick and roll, I'm like, what if we just had Kolek do that though? Like, what if we just gave it to him? I thought Rokas had a pretty bad start. I thought he was terrible actually in the first half. Then he looked better in the second half. Not anything spectacular, but I would have liked to probably. I hope that in the next game we see a little bit more of him, a little less Dwayne Washington. I hope that guys start finding Dadier when he cuts because he got open on cuts like 3 or 4 times. He didn't get hit. So that would be nice. Hopefully he can make a 3 too. That would be good. Hit the rim consistently. That'd be good. I mean, I'm not really that worried about his shot because he's shot well for a while. So
he has a nice form too.
Yeah, so I assume that he'll be okay in the long run. That's not really a big concern to me. But yeah, just would like to see him get a little bit more involved offensively than he was for long stretches of this game. But yeah, I mean, just more Kolek, less Dwayne Washington, and I'm happy.
I think Taro Ferrano kind of puts it best here. He says, I like to see Kolek and Rokas play together. Kolek at the 1, Rokas at the 2. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, Kolek was very much more pass happy, I would say. But yeah, you were right. He did have 0 turnovers today. A nice 7-7-7 line in Vegas, 7.7 rebounds, 7 assists. But yeah, Rokas did look a little. He kind of looked a little heavy on his lift on his jumpers. I don't know if he's been eating too good during this.
He's also. I mean, he played right. He just finished the qualifying
tournament.
Lithuania. Then he flew over here. It's a weird time for a lot of these guys. So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that. Nick Smith Jr. is apparently never gonna miss a shot in Summer League, so congrats to him. That was
those second years guys, man. They're actually playing really well this year. Shout out to all the second year players. They're usually hit or miss. So
yeah, I mean the good thing for Dadier is he looked better than Bronny James did, so that's good.
Very low bar to clear, by the way. Very low bar. Bronny James is not seeing any of my Summer League parlays this year. I'll tell you that. Maybe next year if they let him play. Poor kid. Should have stayed in college a year. Oh well. It's not a Bronny James stream.
He's getting paid $8 million. He'll be fine.
Yeah. He'll be more than fine. Neil Schmidt, he says Kolek is the perfect bench point guard. Probably have to hide him on D. Hope Deuce and him can coexist. Yeah, I don't know because Thibs isn't really that much of a two small guard kind of guy. And especially a rookie coming in, I don't know if you would really necessarily entrust him with that. But I mean, hey, if a non-big body goes down during the regular season, you could probably expect to see Kolek minutes, and he'll probably do a lot of what we saw today. Yeah, he was really good with the ball in his hands, which is what we all saw during his time at Marquette. So nothing to really be too surprised at, but it's good to see it translate to Summer League right away. And hopefully, if you get some preseason minutes, we see that translate as well.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet by somebody that said that Kolek might be what Jericho Sims needs to save his career. What do you think about that, Schwinn, as an avid Jericho Sims fan?
Maybe. Hope so. That'd be good for Jericho. Not sure that either Kolek or him are going to play much together. Maybe in Westchester. I think the Jericho Sims thing is over, man. That guy's terrible. He's just not good.
Bruh, him clapping back at people on Instagram comments is probably the funniest thing that's probably the highlight of his Knicks tenure so far. Other than that dunk versus Utah.
That was a crazy dunk. Yeah, I'm not too bullish about Jericho Sims, but good luck to him, and I hope that
his endeavors.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, if you're right, that'd be great. Good for the Knicks. So I would like that. It
would definitely save them some money and options on the big man market.
Yeah,
I'd say that. Speaking of the Knicks and big men, I mean, do we think that they're just gonna roll with what they got right now, bring back Precious? I mean, we still haven't heard anything on the Precious front. Which brings me to your tweet the other day about the Kevin McCullough thing. What did you want to expound on that? With the Kevin McCullough Precious
I just think it's weird. It's just why has he not signed any type of contract? What's the reason for that? I mean, there's a lot of just weird shit. Why is Precious Chua still just sitting out on the free agent market?
Yeah.
Why
teams need bigs? Like the
Yeah.
Pelicans need a big.
Why did the Knicks spend so much? Why did they desperately want the world to know that they did not want to be hard capped at the first apron, wanted to be hard capped at the second apron, so they had more space to operate, and then they still haven't they've not done anything since then other than sign Kolek and Pacome Dadier to contracts, and then they signed Huck Porty to a two-way deal. But other than that, they've done nothing. They haven't done anything since then, and the center market is drying out. Like Precious is pretty much obviously the best one left on the market, so take that for what it is, and we'll see what happens there. They've been linked to Walker Kessler. They've been linked to
Nick Richards.
Nick Richards. There has been some smoke about Karl Anthony Towns, and yet they still have not signed a backup center, and we don't know what's going on with that. And every fucking executive and team and player and agent is in Vegas this weekend. I don't know. It feels like they're up to something. I'm not saying something's going to happen, but I do think they're trying for something. What that is, I couldn't tell you, but it feels something is up. Like this is not normal. This is odd and it's strange, and maybe it's just the fact that with the new CBA, we're going to have to get used to free agency and the offseason maybe running a little bit longer than we're used to. But even with all of that, it seems odd.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting. I was assuming that Kevin McCullough is just going to take that third two-way spot, since they do allow 3 two-way spots on basketball teams now. So I thought Kevin McCullough was just going to sign to the third two-way spot. He was going to spend most of his time in Westchester just because due to the injuries and whatnot. But yeah, it is very interesting that Precious just hasn't signed with anyone at all. Especially since the Pelicans have like this big glaring hole at center. And yeah, it's just very peculiar. Because like there hasn't really been any news about him signing here, him signing anywhere. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see with Precious.
Yeah. Yep. It's really not much option either.
Let's see what other comments we have here. Nora says, I think the best thing about this is that Jalen Brunson does not care about the noise surrounding around taking the contract. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of shows the kind of guy he is too. I saw another comment, like someone, they're talking about like the Jalen Brunson possibly getting a shoe, and then someone else mentioned in the replies about how Jalen Brunson even said he doesn't really care for a signature shoe. He'd rather just have a whole collection of Kobe's. I mean, I think that also is a testament to the type of guy that he is. He's just like a really simple dude, and he doesn't really care for the flashy stuff or whatever.
He might care if Nike,
throws him a bag
and gives him a lot of money. And
yeah, of course.
We'll make a signature shoe for you. You don't have to do anything. You might be like, okay, sounds good. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay with that.
But usually they ask you to be like so involved with the design process and shit like that. He probably just say like, make me a
he can outsource that to Matt Hillman.
True. Jordan Bub, he says Rokas, Kolek, Dadier, and Huck Porty did pretty well. Toppin and Dwayne Washington Jr. scored well, but didn't play well. Yeah, you always need those kind of, like Schwinn said, you need those kind of guys that are just going to take up some shots. I think Dwayne Washington just offers that shot creation that the team just doesn't really have from the main guys that we picked. And Rokas seems to still be settling in. I don't know how much time Rokas had to practice with these guys, since he like literally just got here from like wherever the qualifying tournament was. I think Puerto Rico. He went to New York and then he went to Vegas, so I don't know how much time he really had. But yeah.
Yeah.
Giannis LB80 says Pacome has some wing creation flashes, only flashes, but I can see the path. I think which really helps with Pacome as well is that he gets to kind of really learn from the best here in New York with in terms of like not even just like wing creation, but wing defense, I would say. In terms of Bridges and OG, there's not much wing creation with those guys. Maybe what Bridges does a little bit, like some secondary and tertiary creation, but I mean, Pacome has the best wing tutors he can possibly get in terms of just being like a really solid wing role guy in general. So
yeah. I mean, I thought that it looked good. He had a really nice dump off pass to the corner. I forgot whoever 36 is. That guy seems pretty bad. He dumped it off to him though. It was a really nice pass, and I mean he missed the three, but it was like for corner three. I mean he had the lob he threw to Skapintsev, who is terrible by the way. Oh my god. But that lob he threw to him in the first half I thought it was crazy. That was with his offhand. I was really, really surprised by that pass. He had a couple other dimes, and I was very, very impressed with his passing. Mostly because a lot of the scouting reports didn't. I mean, they kind of said he was kind of framed, I would say, in a lot of his scouting reports as kind of like a chucker. And I'm sure there is some of that, but like I was very pleased with his passing, and I thought, he would get rebounds, and he wasn't trying to grab and go coast to coast. He was like, okay, he'd get the ball to Kolek, right, or whoever the point guard was, and then run over to the wing and space out. Like I thought, I was very impressed that he kind of played within himself and wasn't trying to jack up shots and take over, which I think is something that happens a lot in Summer League and can be not really what you want to see from a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Summer League. It's fun to actually have something to talk about for Summer League this year. Because last year we didn't pick anybody, right, in the draft? No? Did we even have a draft pick?
Nope. Did not have a pick.
We didn't have a pick. There wasn't really much to talk about unless we wanted to talk about Jacob Toppin. So there were no Summer League streams last year. So it's good to have some young guys to talk about, young guys to get excited about. Our good friend Jeff tweeted out that he doesn't think that Tyler Kolek needs to even play anymore in Summer League. Like he's shown it all already. And I want to find the tweet so I can expand on this and let me find this. Here it is. He says, this might be a small exaggeration, but I'm not sure we need to see any more from Tyler Kolek. This has been as promising as a debut as I can imagine. He put a check by processing plus floor general, by shooting, off-ball impact, and long rebounding from the guard position. All things that, of course, the Knicks very much value. Not even just from guards, but players in general. But yeah, what do you think about him showing enough already?
Yeah, I mean, good. It's always good. Like I don't want to get too crazy about Summer League because I just think it's stupid to do that. But like, what you really want to see is like, okay, do these guys look
like they can play an NBA role?
Yeah, do they look athletically? How do they match up? That's always my biggest thing. And then just kind of like, okay, what is their decision making like? Can I see the path for them to play? And Kolek, I think honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you are almost you put him with better players, better spacing, better understanding, recognition among teammates. I think he's a guy who potentially could give the Knicks minutes right now if need be, especially with the makeup of their team. And look, I'm obviously we're all very, very happy with Deuce, and he's a different. Obviously, what he brings defensively is on a totally different level to Kolek. But I saw more natural kind of like point guard play from Kolek today, playmaking ability than I even saw from Deuce when he played Summer League his second time around when he was like the point guard. And then we ended up like having Grimes run point. Shout out Quentin Grimes. Gone. Actually, no, I was gone and definitely forgotten. But yeah, like I think Kolek is just he clearly profiles as somebody who's way more capable of running offense. Now, will he be able to do that at the NBA level? Will he? I don't know. We don't know. We'll have to see that when we get there. From what I saw initially, I'm happy and I'm optimistic, but we'll see when we see it. Dadier, I'm not really worried about anything with him because he's not going to play for like the next year or two, probably.
He will be in Westchester.
Yeah, but
enjoy the Westchester highlights, folks.
Yeah, but he, you wanted to see, okay, how does he match up physically? The fact that he matched up well against Brandon Miller physically is very, very positive, especially given that he's 18 and I think Miller is 22. The fact that with his side, like the decision making we just talked about was a lot better than I expected. He needs to get better on the glass. Needs to get better with kind of his fundamentals defensively and recognition. But like, it's kind of like the Mitch thing. I remember watching Mitch in Summer League, and I was like, this guy has no idea what the fuck he's doing. But the pathway for him to be a rim running center who can be an elite rim protector is pretty obvious. The pathway for Dottier to be a two-way wing player with versatility, you know, it's very obvious. Whether he achieves it or not, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, you know, I saw enough from this game where I'm like, I'm very cool with them taking him at the 25th pick of this draft, and seeing what happens in a couple of years with this guy. And you know, Huck Porty was the last pick of the draft. Like, I think you saw some stuff today. Yeah, you saw some stuff today that was good. You saw some stuff that was like, okay, maybe this is why this guy dropped the 58. He's on a two-way contract. We'll see what happens. They don't really need to be in a rush with him. And quite honestly, if we're in a situation where Huck Porty is swinging our futures in terms of like, you know, impacting what we do right now with the roster, that would be insane. So I highly doubt he's being counted upon in that capacity. Yeah, I mean, you got to be pretty happy, I think, to some degree with what we saw from all three of those guys. Who the fuck was that ball guy? Is he old?
On our team?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Baugh, that they brought him in. He was like locking, clamping on defense.
You're intrigued by him?
I don't know. He was just kind of like doing shit on defense, and I was like, he gave Miller a tough time when he was on him. I was a little.
That was
intrigued.
number 17, right?
Yeah.
He's probably someone that's going to be on Westchester this year. I think he was on like the South Bay Lakers or something like that, or something they mentioned on the broadcast. I think his name is Damian Baugh.
Damian Baugh.
Yep. Yeah, he was on the South Bay Lakers last year.
Interesting. He's 23. He went to school in Memphis. He's from Nashville. Memphis and then TCU. Terrible shooter, apparently, in college. So maybe not much there, but defense was interesting. I thought it was interesting. And he got into the paint. He just looked athletic. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Was he able to shoot in the G League or anything?
I do not know. I can look it up, but I would guess not.
Is Damian Baugh this year's MJ Walker? Remember MJ Walker?
Yeah, I do. I do remember MJ Walker.
Folks are like, man, is MJ Walker going to make the team, guys?
He shot 29.2% from three in G League last year on 1.8 attempts. So I don't think he can shoot. His free throw percentage is good, 77%, but he only took 13. So
Like a slasher.
Yeah, I don't know. This guy only played 295 minutes last year. It seems like, so I don't know what the hell he was doing exactly, but yeah. Nothing in his track record suggests he's going to be a great shooter.
There's a lot of interesting names on this Knicks Summer League team. I'm surprised we didn't see any Alex O'Connell run. He was really interesting at Duke when he was there, and Creighton. Solid shooter. But yeah, let's get through some more of these comments. Chris Bernhardt, he asked, so do we believe the Cat for Randall and Mitch stuff? It's weird for me because I think it'll work, but I've also slandered the shit out of Cat for years now, so I don't know how to feel. The Knicks have this thing of just getting players that a lot of us have slandered. I think a lot of us have slandered McCall for the greater part of a year and a half now, especially because Nets fans were overrating the shit out of him, calling him the next superstar, calling him, the star for their rebuild or whatever it was. I was someone that, of course, slandered OG Anunoby a ton because I thought the Raptors' asking price for him was insane. So yeah, I mean, if the Knicks get Cat, I really don't know how I would feel about it because I have also slandered Cat. I literally just slandered him like 30 minutes ago about him being overpaid and being a playoff dud. So that tells you how I feel already. Schwinn, I'm sure you've told the people plenty of times how you feel about Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yes. I am not a huge fan of Towns. I don't really think I would not personally do a trade where Randall and Mitch go out for Towns, but I can see why they might be interested and intrigued, and depending on how they address the center situation, it's arguable that it's, there's potential for that to be an upgrade, but I just don't feel strongly about it. I don't think I wouldn't do it, but they've earned the benefit of the doubt. So if they, if the Knicks did make a trade for Cat, and there's nothing to suggest it's imminent or going to happen. Honestly, I would guess that until they have a strong idea of Randall's kind of thinking with regards to his extension, that they wouldn't make a decision, or so this might not be something that even happens. And if it did happen, I don't know if that it would catch too much steam until August 2nd or whenever the fuck he becomes extension eligible. So that's when I would be a little bit I'd be looking at it.
Oh, so interesting. Kevin McCullough will be wearing number 9 jersey this year. So he has a jersey number, Schwinn.
Yeah, but it's for Summer League.
I guess.
Yeah,
number 9 is
interesting number.
It's changed in the history books. The other one doesn't exist anymore. Daddy is gonna wear 35. Kolek 13, of course. Huckporty 55.
They gave him the heart. They said, Hartenstein, get the fuck out of here.
They replaced Hartenstein and RJ Barrett just like that in the history books.
I like it. Okay.
And Fournier with Kolek and the 13. Rewrite history, boys. Those numbers are yours to change history with. Ace Bashar says he doesn't think that Kolek can help Jericho's rebounding issue.
I would concur with that. Definitely would concur with that assessment.
What do we make of the interest in Bertans and Shamet? Because that has been the latest Knicks free agent scene.
The Shamet thing was wasn't the account that connected us to Shamet? Or no, that was Gary Trent Jr. It was just some random account. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that one was bizarre too. But
I think they might just want a veteran shooter on the bench. Maybe, I don't know. Bertans is more intriguing to me than Shamet.
Why is Bertans more interesting?
Just because he's tall. Just because he's taller.
Okay.
I just think having a tall shooter, I think he takes tougher threes than Shamet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I would, there are times he can get hot and he's very annoying. That's a guy in the regular season who could just kind of
have a 5-3 quarter.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Really blow open a game for you.
Yeah. So I would be more intrigued with him than Shamet.
He's like someone you throw out there on one of those random nights versus the Wizards or something, and you're like, hey, go crazy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Ashwin says it was cool to see the real Knicks come out to support the Summer Knicks.
It was cool. There was there was a lot going on. There's a lot going on during that game.
It was what
in the world?
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
a real life episode of The Boys happening in real time.
Yeah, it was a little hit and miss. Yeah, Mikal was there.
OG had the dogs out.
Did he?
He was wearing sandals.
Yeah. He's just so goofy. It's so ridiculous. He doesn't make any sense to me. He's the weirdest person.
Well, he's gonna be paying for all the team dinners this year, apparently.
Yeah.
So
I think he needs to get braids or something, man.
He had them before.
Yeah.
He even looks weird with those, though.
He's just weird.
He's a weird person.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see if Jalen and Josh go out there.
And Dante.
Dante's not going out there.
Yeah, Dante's being a father.
He doesn't give a shit about that.
He's also being a father.
Yeah, but he does. It's more that he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
I wonder if Randall will go out there. That'd be interesting.
Randall's always usually out there.
Yeah, he looks his little to go out there, schmooze with everybody. But it was cool seeing all of them. Wes, Tibbs, Leon. Was Gerson there? I don't think Gerson was.
Dolan was there.
Dolan was there. I mean, of course.
Dolan looked like he just came back from a bender.
Yeah, our fearless leader, James Dolan. He's probably coming from the Sphere.
Yeah.
They were talking about that during the broadcast too, right?
Yeah.
Legler was he was good, man. I mean I enjoyed him. I thought he was better than like listen. I mean
I
maybe
hope I hope he's on broadcast this year. I mean,
maybe just that the bar is in fucking hell because you had to endure JJ and Doris for an entire fucking year.
yeah. I mean, Legler is easily by far one of the best out there. So definitely makes games a lot easier to listen. I didn't have to think about putting my game on mute today. Usually that's the case when there's like Richard Jefferson or some other schmuck there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan Bub says, I see more of a pathway for Kolek than expected, but I could see more of a pathway for Rokas because he has more size and athleticism, play 1 or 2 in the NBA. Wasn't there also a rumor that Rokas was probably going to go back to one of those teams that there was like some report. I can find it really quickly that Rokas. Rokas. How do you spell his name? His last name? Joku. Of course, my Twitter decides to freeze. Joku. Bitus. But yeah, there was a report I saw something about him like returning somewhere or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I have no idea.
But hey, I mean, Kolek is kind of already winning the battle of third string point guard. So
Yeah.
just off this first performance.
Zalgiris. That's the team.
Oh yeah, that's the tweet that I saw that he was gonna return back to Zalgiris in Lithuania.
I would like to just see him play more though in the next game. Like Dwayne Washington Jr. is 100% not an NBA player, so there's really nothing that we need to like.
Yeah, why don't we start him with Kolek just to see what we got with those two?
I'd rather see that anyway.
But yeah, on basketnews.com, yeah, there was a report that Rokas Jokubaitis close to returning to Zalgiris after 3 years in Barcelona.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't he like start losing playing time in Barcelona because they got like all these older guys that they just decide to play more than the younger guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's always weird politics with the European stuff. So I don't. Yeah, but that's what happened. He got his minutes cut there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always figured that he wasn't gonna really come to the Knicks just yet. I mean, it's good to see him in Summer League now, and it'd be very encouraging to see what he can do with in lineups with Kolek and Pacome and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Is that it for today?
I think so.
Shout out to everyone that pulled up and tuned in.
No comment. I agree.
The Summer Knicks take the court again on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday versus the Brooklyn Nets Summer League team. It's a little rivalry matchup there.
Yeah, I'm sure the takes after that one will be really rational. So look forward to that.
Yes, as always. Oh yeah, do we want to talk about the NBA Cup group before we head out of here?
Well, we got Philly, we got the Hornets again, we got
Nets and the Magic.
Cool, I like it. We got 2 shit teams, and then we got 2
respectable opponents. I feel like the NBA is really trying to like milk the Philly Knicks series since that was like easily one of the best, if not the best series in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I mean it was the only good series in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, so
it was like, and I mean that like in the sense of like every game was actually entertaining.
Yeah,
like the Wolves Nuggets series was good, but none of those games were individually actually like very entertaining. But yeah, I think there's probably something to that. That group in the West is brutal. What is it like? OKC, Dallas,
Denver.
Is Minnesota?
No, Minnesota's in a different group.
Yeah, but it's like 5 legitimately good teams. I think that is Is it the Rockets that are in that?
So Group A in the West is the Timberwolves, Clippers, Kings, Rockets, Blazers. Group B is OKC, Phoenix, Lakers, Jazz, Spurs, and West C is Nuggets, Dallas, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Warriors.
Yeah, that's a brutal one.
Yes, C is
I'm taking the Grizzlies to win that group, though. Can we bet on that? Are we allowed to bet who tops groups and stuff?
I think so.
Yeah.
Of course, they give the Celtics the easiest group in the East. Because why make things harder for the defending champions? I thought it was interesting that they're like seeding them, and I think it's based on like last year's records or whatnot, or like playoff success. I have no idea really. But they seeded each group. We're the one seed in group in East A, so that's good for us. War UCL for us.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But hey, I hope the Knicks can come out of this and win this. It would be fun to win that, I guess. Start the year off pretty strong. Just hope. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. Then we will be back after the game on Tuesday. The Knicks taking on the Nets Summer League team. And yeah, check out all the links in the description. Especially check out the site. We got our Summer League roundtable out that we just published this morning, as well as we got some pieces recently, one by Matthew Miranda, who details the Cal Bridges acquisition and an interesting angle on that. But yeah, there's a ton of content, of course, as the year goes on. So thank you all for tuning in. If you're new, subscribe, leave a like. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on Tuesday. Peace.